Hello everyone, welcome to Ignite the Beacon. I'm Lieutenant Smith and I'm here with Lieutenant Elliott and some guests. And today we're going to be discussing what it is to be a military training leader at Keesler Air Force Base. Today we're joined by two MTLs who are passionate about sharing their experience and insights on what makes the role one of the most impactful and assignments in the Air Force. Our goal today is to have an open and honest conversation and talk about the opportunities and challenges that come with being an MTL at Keesler Air Force Base. So if y'all want to introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Master Sergeant Tierney Minderman. I'm the flight chief here at 335 at the training squadron, and I've been an MTL for almost 2 years.
I'm Sergeant Hathaway, 335 as well, and I just got here in March, so still learning things, but it's been great so far.
That's awesome. How did y'all end up at Keesler? What were y'all doing before you got here?
So I'm actually a personnelist by trade, so HRA by trade, and I just wanted to get out of my career field for a little while. I've been a personnelist for 13 years, and I just wanted to kind of do something different. My career field was changing a lot at the time, new processes, new programs. I kind of wanted AFPC to figure out what they were going to do with our career field for a while, and so I was like, let me just get out of it for a little while until they figure that out, and then hopefully in a few years I'll join them back. So yeah.
I'm part of the last little group that I got mandated to do it. At first I was a little hesitant, but then as I researched more about it, I was like, hey, this actually looks pretty cool. Yeah. And supply by trade, and don't really enjoy it to the most extent. So being here is a fresh start. I'm actually loving it so far. So
that's exciting. We talked about that's something you didn't actively pursue. Now that you're here, what do you think? And
yeah, like beforehand, specifically about Keesler, operational, you hear like, oh, you're going to Keesler, and at first I'm like, oh, what the heck? What am I getting myself into? But then I actually had an airman under me back at Langley. She was like, oh, I went to Keesler Air Force Base, and she retrained into supply afterwards. But she's like, I loved it there. I don't know what they're talking about. So that kind of like ignited some hope in me.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of my own research, and looked up like Ocean Springs, Biloxi area, and I was like, oh, this looks really nice. Yeah. The beaches are nearby, beautiful weather, warmth, deep south, good food. So I was like, all right, cool. And then yeah, just research, talking to people, got me a little bit more excited about it.
That's awesome.
I think Keesler's kind of like a hidden gem that people don't
gosh,
realize.
It is.
I lived here in the 90s, and so like living here for 6 years was the longest place I ever lived until my last assignment. And so when I got the assignment, I remember I messaged some people like, hey, can I make sure that I get Keesler? Because I didn't realize at first when you're an MTL, it's not all at Keesler. Like they have Goodfellow, they have Lackland, Shepherd, Monterey. There's so many different places that MTLs go. And so I was just hoping, I was like, please let me get Keesler. So I made a few phone calls, hit up a few people, and,
Nice.
and I was able to get the base that I wanted. So
it's such a
nice.
gorgeous coastal town.
Yeah, it is.
Like, awesome. And you've been here for so long too.
I have. I've been here quite a while.
Do you love it?
Yeah, since 2021. I've really enjoyed all the opportunities that I've had while I've been here, here at the base, and the jobs that I've gotten to do. At the same time, the local area is fantastic. Like you mentioned, great food out here. A lot of activities going on. I feel like there's always something happening at the local parks, or of course at the casinos. They have events that are going on. And then here on base, between the marina, constantly doing things, and then just in the heart of base, there's just always something to do, and it was
Every holiday has
great.
a parade. And
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
And there's a baseball stadium right outside base too.
Yeah.
And the community relations is always so cool. Like they'll support the military at those games, they'll announce us. So
Yeah, and sometimes provide us free tickets.
Hey.
So.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
no complaints there.
Yes.
It is so fun.
So for someone considering becoming an MTL, what do you think is something that helps you out in deciding to become an MTL? Like if I had these things, it would be helpful walking into the career field for the first time, or even starting training, going through the MTL schoolhouse process.
I think just having an open mind, for one. I think that the admin portion of this job was a little bit easier for me, being HRA. I've always, you're out processing students and you're in processing students and you're dealing with ID cards. So that definitely was something I was used to. And so it wasn't a hard transition for me. But I do think that sometimes I would say like a glorified babysitter. We're like glorified babysitters, we're counselors, we're mom and dads, things like that. And so I just think being able to have an open mind of our days are different every day. I know I was talking to you guys and y'all this morning about our morning this morning was like I came in and an airman's having a mental health crisis, and instructors are calling us and asking us, like, hey, I don't know what's going on with this student. Could you speak to them? And I always bring another MTL in when you have an airman in your office, and that was something that we had to come up with a plan even before coming here. So it's just, I think just telling them like to have an open mind and just, I mean, I don't think there's sometimes you can expect things of what our days are like.
No.
And I don't think coming into this job, nobody could have prepared me for what we go through every day.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. Like, my experience of MTLs was only what I knew while I was in tech school and what you hear operationally. But having that open mind and experiencing it for yourself, it's a whole nother world. It's not what you remember. Like she says, yeah, we're in these hard positions, but it's super rewarding and it's super fulfilling. And you're put into this role that you wouldn't have otherwise been in, and I think it develops you a great deal.
We're even like investigators sometimes. We have to deal with 1168s, which my husband, the cop background, I was like, I've never filled out an 1168 in my life. But when we go to MTLS, they teach you, how to fill these out. But you don't realize, hey, I'm checking cameras, I'm investigating, I'm getting statements from all types of students. So it's something that you can never really be prepared for.
And for those folks who have never supervised anyone before and they're coming in and they're hearing, oh, I'm getting, a few dozen troops that are students, do you feel like that you need to have that supervisory background, or do you feel like this is kind of a different ballgame?
I mean, I definitely think it's a different ballgame. I do think having a supervisor role does help coming into this. I know that a few MTLs that I was in MTLS with they were a brand new supervisor. And so I think that they kind of struggled with, in the beginning, of what to do and time management and dealing with the different situations with students. But I think that this is kind of like you're thrown into the sharks, and so you have to sink or swim. And so I think it's good to we have a great team at 335, so everyone helps each other, and those that have been in MTL for a while, we kind of get that mentorship from them, so that helps. You're just kind of listening to everybody, you kind of ask questions like, hey, how would you handle this situation? So we're never by ourselves, so that's the nice thing about it. There's never a situation that we don't have help from flight chiefs, assistant flight chiefs, our first sergeant, our leadership, other MTLs, like our whole team, and everyone has different backgrounds, so that's nice. Like, we're not all the same career field, and so I don't think you necessarily need that supervisor role, but I definitely think it does. For my personal experience, I think it helps, but also I was a Master Sergeant Select when I came here, so I was still a young, to me, tech sergeant, and so just trying to fill those roles. Like, I didn't feel like I had a lot of that experience that maybe I needed, but I think over the 2 years, like, we've all grown so much. So.
And what better way to learn than just getting thrown right into it?
Yeah.
I had maybe 4 or 5 troops in my entire career before coming here, and operationally you don't see as much random crazy things. So I even found myself back operationally, my airman would ask me, or they'd have a problem with something, and I'd have to like, well, let me go ask my tech sergeant real quick. But being here already, I've dealt with more development, more helping, more guidance than I had in my 2 years of being a staff back at my last base, which has already in 4 months helped me grow as an MTL.
You got to grow
so.
like a weed. That's awesome.
And if you're open to it and you got a right mindset about it, I think it.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, and you touched on like the different backgrounds that like everybody's coming in from different AFSCs. What's like kind of like the highlight of getting to work with so many different career fields?
Different perspectives.
Yeah.
Like working with a cop, like he's.
Oh, that's cool.
He's got lots of experience with those 1162s or 1168s,
Yeah,
whatever they are.
1168s, yeah.
And just he's seen a lot more than me being a supply guy has. So pinging ideas off of him being a tech sergeant, having him there is nice. Then they've got maintenance, so they're used to the more rough crowd. Yeah.
It's just different personalities. We have a lot of, like you said, different backgrounds, but I think that we can network still. It's the same thing as operational. The more you network with people in other AFSCs, the more you learn, and the more you get to know things. But I definitely think we have like strengths and weaknesses as MTLs. I'm not very tech savvy, but I have somebody who is more like a nerd maintenance, and they've done this and they're great with that. And so we use those
Excel
strengths.
sheets.
Yes,
all that
Excel
stuff,
sheets. Yes. And so like they have those strengths, and like I'm more like, hey, I can manage things and administrative work and get them organized with this stuff. So I definitely think it definitely helps as a team, because I think if we were all the same thing, I don't think we would benefit as much. And again, different backgrounds. We have a linguist, we have a PA, we have maintenance, we have a cop, and we're getting a couple more cops. We have 2 supply folks, ground trans, HRA. So I mean, it's nice like that we get all of that experience. And then the students, sometimes we have them guess like, hey, what is our AFSC?
That's
and
fun.
they love it. So,
That's so fun.
yeah.
I love that.
We can challenge each other too.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we were all the same AFSC, I think there's certain group think mentalities that go in with certain career fields. So having a
Absolutely.
different career field there helps me be challenged in certain areas that I might be slipping up in.
Yeah.
So you were a flight chief, and then you're a line MTL right now.
Correct.
So walk me through kind of what is there's no such thing as a typical day in the life
No,
of an MTL.
not at
That's
all.
the biggest joke. But walk me through what a day might look like for you, and then I'd like to hear what a day would look like as a line MTL as well.
Well, I'll actually let you go first, because I think that, your day's a little bit more different than mine.
So I'm in morning shift MTL.
Okay.
Which right now is 04:30 to 12:30, which I love actually. I always said operationally, like if I could come in as early as I could to get out earlier, I would, and here I am. So it's awesome, a little bit of a blessing. But yeah, so get in at 4:30. We got PT 5 days a week, which I love.
He's a big PT guy, so
Love PT.
he loves it, yes.
Great, I love leading the airmen. 4:30, accountability, PT. Usually let the airmen shower, change. We're in our office during that time. If they got questions, which they usually do, they'll come to us with a multitude of things. They want to phase up to the next phase, which is just like, hey, I want to like wear civilian clothes now that I've been here for 3 weeks.
Or go off base.
Or go off
Yes.
base during the weekends, yeah. And then we march them to class. So they form up at about 6:45, all 350 of them or more. March them in one big super flight, we call it, and then march back after we march them to class. And then I like this, all the MTLs after we march, go grab breakfast together, which
Nice.
is cool, a little,
That's fun.
nice little moment.
That's awesome.
And
Little
then,
bonding moment in the morning.
yeah, get some pancakes. On Wednesdays, we got chocolate chip pancakes in the
Oh,
BFAC.
yum.
And then back to the office grinding. So room inspections, admin stuff, in processing, out processing, appointments, all that type of good stuff. And then 12:30 hits and I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Now, what are the other shifts? So you mentioned that there was that one from 04:30 to 12:30. What is kind of the scope or the overlap of the other shifts that are available for line MTLs?
I think it's dependent on the squadron, but usually it's so 04:30 to 12:30 or 5 to 1. And then there's like a 9 to 5 position for MTLs
days,
that have
yep.
like maybe kids that have childcare. And then maybe an 11 to 7 shift to catch that evening crowd. They march back after class around 5. So having an MTL there in the afternoon kind of helps pick up the slack that maybe morning shift missed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we all, I mean, we're all there for at least 3 or 4 hours together, because we have like team meetings, we have MTL all calls, all that kind of stuff. So at least we can overlap each other and still be able to see each other and have turnover. Because sometimes, like a lot of the airmen complain that they don't, like, hey, I have a morning MTL and I only have a short time to see them. But we have signal apps, we have on-call MTL phones, we have email that they can, contact us. So there's no reason that they couldn't get a hold of us. But it's just like passing along, hey, I was trying to get this, say remedial training. They failed multiple room inspections. And so you're giving them remedial training with a red card, which means, hey, you have to be in uniform at all times for a week straight. You get room inspections every week. You do open ranks every week. And then once you complete that remedial training, whether it is, hey, you're getting your room inspected every day by an MTL, or you have to say the Airman's Creed to an MTL and get it signed off. And then they'll come back and like, hey, I wasn't able to give this remedial training to my student, but can you help me, just administer? I've already taken care of the administration portion. So that's why, like, it's nice to have that turnover to help out.
It sounds like there's a lot of team effort.
Yes.
Like you're not exactly perfectly siloed of like it's me and it's my troops and that's who I interact with. It seems like as a collective, the MTLs handle the administration as well as any discipline or mentorship as more of a collective, which sounds fantastic.
Absolutely. Like right now I'm covering for a buddy MTL in our manor that is on leave. So all of his airmen, I'm doing his room inspections for phase 1s. If they're getting in trouble, I'm issuing that RT. Maybe I'm smoking them in an extra PT session, who knows.
There you go.
But yeah, So yeah, definitely collaborative effort for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We couldn't do it without each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
perfect sense.
anybody just starting out as an MTL, like what advice, and I guess it's great because you kind of have like both perspectives of the new and, you know, like you've
The seasoned
the
MTL,
seasoned,
yeah.
the seasoned. What's that advice that y'all would give to a new MTL?
Just take it day by day, breathe, ask for help. I know with Sergeant Hathaway being new, I've kind of told him, and even Sergeant Macbeth, like, hey, just listen to what the other MTLs say, like being in their conversations, because a lot of times the airmen will come in and they'll be asking like the same question every like 5 minutes, like a new airman comes in. And so that way they're learning, be like, oh, I just heard this advice to give to them. Hey, this is what you need to do. Or sometimes they'll come in, they have to ask permission to use like the computer lab or go to appointments, get appointment slips signed by us, even to go up to like the vending machine because we have to keep accountability for them during the day. And so just being able to feed off each other, or like, hey, I just heard this, or I'll hear a conversation and I'll be like, this is what it is. Because sometimes they'll have to ask if something is a flight chief approval, they'll come ask us. But if I can overhear the conversation, I'll be like, this is what it is. And I just like yell down the hallway.
Like, we're always screaming at each other across the hall.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So, but I think just like, again, every day is not the same. So just listening, getting that. We try to do good turnover with each other. Try to like, hey, if this is your main program, hey, this is the MTL that will train you on that. And then we all try to help each other out because we have primaries and alternates. But just because it's a primary position doesn't mean that your alternate is not assisting you, because it is a lot. Like besides the actual line MTLs and flight chief stuff, we have 25 additional duties between like FACMAN, SEPRAT, which is airmen who live off base. But that program is actually ending for us. We have one SEPRAT left
wow.
because their course ended, or their course shortened. And so because it's shortened, they don't meet that eligibility requirement to live off base with their families. And so it's just little things like that, you know, it's not just doing room inspections
No.
and
No.
doing administrative. Like there's so many additional things that we have to do. And now with the weather being crazy, our FACMANs are busy putting in work orders and making sure that rooms aren't flooding and
All the floods. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
it's just so much.
And I mean, there's even like a additional duty of like, it's called bus, where you're getting practically a CDL in the case that there's a hurricane and you'll be bussing the airmen around.
Yep.
So
And it's a
you
lot of
couldn't even
training.
think of all this
Yes.
stuff.
And ground trans changed that requirement, so it's a lot harder. And so like trying to get MTLs trained in that during the time of like we're so busy during the day and trying to find that extra time, like it's hard. So people don't realize how difficult it can be.
Yeah.
So as a senior NCO, what are some of the opportunities that you've had? What are some of the responsibilities that you have that make it different than being a line MTL?
Lots of meetings.
Okay.
So I have flight chief meetings, we have staff meetings within the squadron. The leadership, like our commander, our DO, they'll contact us like, hey, what's going on with this airman? The first sergeant, a lot of like, it's not normally, none of that information is given to the line MTLs right away. It's always given to us to be like, hey, can you give me a status of this? So then we're trying to scramble to get that information, but we're going to our line MTLs to get it. We have obviously disciplinary things like LORs. I issued one just 2 days ago. I always have the MTL, if it's their airman that did it, that some disciplinary action, I'll have them write it, but they send it to me and I'm the one who has to issue it. Because they'll get an LOR, like this one specifically was a room violation, and that's an automatic LOR with a 30-day red card. So they're not allowed to go into other people's rooms that aren't theirs. So it's just a lot of disciplinary action. This morning dealing with airmen with a mental health crisis, things like that. The instructors calling us. We had to investigate things of like racial comments, people being, we have DFAC workers being disrespectful to students. So it's just every day is something different with us. And so that's the hard part about, I think the flight chief level is just, you're dealing with 1,000 different things, and but then you're also trying to help them out.
Yeah. Everything funnels through her too, so.
Yeah, all like leave requests have to go through us, whether it's permanent party or non-prior students, because then we have to push that up to leadership. And so yeah, a lot of things go through us before it has to go to anybody else or comes down through us. And so just making sure that I'm communicating with them from top to bottom and bottom to top, that's really big. And then for a while there, while he was in MTLS,
Yeah, left for a month.
we originally have 11 MTLs, but we were down to like 6 between two of them were in at MTLS, one was on house hunting days, and two were on leave. So
Wow.
I was covering a whole floor and doing flight chief stuff and transitioning to the actual, because I was an assistant flight chief and I was transitioning to a flight chief. So we were very minimal manned, and you could feel it. Like the airmen could feel it. They're like, hey, there's no MTLs in this building because they're all in a different manner. And so it was just a lot. So
And how many airmen are on a given floor of one of these manors?
about
80?
no, it's like 100.
Even more?
Well, no, maybe. Yeah, between like 50 to 80. I think for each, it's right now it's like 100 and I think it was like 118 for like one bay.
Depending on the year.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just depends. Right now we have about 515 students, but I know last summer we were up to like 700. We were triple bunked for a while, and the airmen were complaining about that.
Brutal.
Yeah, so it just depends. Sometimes you can have like 20 airmen in one bay and then like 40 in another, but then, you know, a month from now you'll have 150.
Right.
So it just depends on what gets sent to us from BMT.
You never know what's going to arrive on
Oh,
Friday
no,
No.
Friday
until they
pickups,
get
it could
here.
be, well, just last week on a Wednesday, Friday pickup, they sent us like a pre-arrival list. It said 13 airmen. We're like, let's go. Thursday morning, 48. We're
Yeah.
like, you gotta be kidding me. That means you're
Yep.
printing packets, uploading crap, and it's just like,
Trying to get stuff for linens
Yeah.
for the students when everything's closed. So yeah,
and then, yeah, it's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. So you've been talking a lot about your airmen and how you have such an impact on them. Where does that kind of come in day to day, where you're working with them and maybe those rewarding moments? And you've talked about those challenging ones as well.
I think for me, since I'm not a line MTL, when I used to be a line MTL, I actually enjoyed having that, I guess, a better relationship with your airmen because you're seeing them every day. But as a flight chief, you don't see the airmen every day. You're not dealing with like your own team. So it was kind of like a little like hit to the heart, like, dang, I don't have all these students that know me. But they have like CQ shift, so, and then all the airmen on AFI, and they get to know me through that, and so that's kind of nice. Sometimes they're always afraid to talk to the master sergeants. I was like, we're not that scary, but I think they just look at the rank and they automatically, you know, they have that mindset from BMT. Anything higher ranking, they're terrified of. But I think that we're just able to make that influence then and there, or ones that have, hey, I've been here for a while and I'm dealing with this issue. I was told to come to you. I was previously married before. I was married for 11 years and divorced, and I was mill to mill at the time, single parent, and so it was a hard transition for me, but I have airmen that come in who are dealing with the same thing. Like, hey, they're married to a military member. Now they're going through a divorce. They have children. That military member might be trying to keep their kids. They don't know what to do. And so because I've had that bad experience in my own life, sometimes the MTLs will be like, hey, you've been divorced before. Like,
Yeah.
here, can you help this out? You know, just like little things like that. And when I first came here, I was a single mom until I, got married last year. And that was difficult. And so sometimes the airmen will come to me like, hey, I know you were a single mom. How did you handle, military life as a single mom?
Yeah.
And so it's like just being able to give them that advice from like past experiences. I think all of us, that's a nice thing, about the different career fields and different, spans of life, that we're able to just influence them in those positive ways. And somebody who hasn't gone through that before.
Yeah.
And so we're able to help them with that. So that's like the big rewarding part, advising them about, like, I know I talked to you guys before about, I had an airman who husband mill to mill, and he's stationed in Korea, and she didn't want to go. She's like, I want to stay stateside. I was like, no. I was like, Korea is amazing. I was like, it's like, again, a hidden gem. Like, it's my favorite country I've ever been to. Been there 5 times, and I was telling her all about the cool things and the culture and the food and the traveling. And I was like, Busan City is like my favorite. They have like the Sandcastle Festival, and they have Cherry Blossom Festival. So same thing like here, tons of parades and festivals. I was like, that is the same there, and it's amazing. And so now she's like, you talked me into it. I'm going to Korea. I'm so excited. So it's just like being able to influence them on experiences we've had. And those airmen that come in as, HRA, they're like, hey, what's your day-to-day life in HRA? Is it a 9-to-5 job? Like, what's your schedule like? Or, hey, did you work this section before? I was going to a CSS, or I'm going to customer service. What's it like? So just being able to tell them a little bit about my experiences. I think that's huge.
So what about you?
Yeah,
Southern Hathaway.
I think having like that human factor and being leading by example, I find a great reward in. Like I said, I'm big on the PT side of things. So getting out there in the mornings and putting out a hard PT session, showing them that like, hey, if we're gonna hold you guys to this standard, we want you to be fit, mentally resilient. I'm gonna be doing it with you. So anytime I do, let's say, get a group of airmen together that needs some remedial training, I put them through a hard workout, I'm doing it with them. And I love that. I just love being able to be in the grit with the airmen and showing them like, hey, like, this is what it's about, right? So
I think you earn a lot of respect by doing
You do.
that. Yeah. Because
You
I think
do.
sometimes the airmen complain that, oh, well, the MTLs aren't out there doing PT with us. Or, hey, we're doing there and we're walking around making sure they're doing it properly. They don't realize sometimes that there's bigger things to it than just being down there with them. But I think that when there's multiple MTLs out there and I do see when we were actually engaged with them, doing the PT with them, I think that they just, what's the word? Like they
Well, it
they
holds more
respect
weight.
you more. Yeah. They're like, hey, if I'm willing to ask you to do this, I'm going to be in there grinding with you.
I'm going to
you
show
know?
that I'll do it myself.
Correct. And that that we're capable of it.
Yes.
So sometimes I think that that's what they forget, like, hey, yes, we are capable of it. Sometimes we have different roles that we have to,
busy.
yeah. So, for sure.
Yeah. How do y'all feel like you've helped turn an airman around before?
I think having those, like setting those boundaries at first is really big for us. I know when I was a line MTL, I had to set those boundaries first, and then I could, let off the reins a little bit.
Now, what boundaries are you talking about? What do you mean when you
Like
say
just
set
setting like
boundaries?
standards, like, hey,
Okay.
these are my expectations. This is what I expect of you. This is how I want your room cleaned. This is what I look for specifically. I know even when I am, taking care of another MTL's team, the first thing I tell the airman when I have team time is, hey, the top of your microwave, I'm short. So I'm like, that's the first thing that my eyes go to is the top of the microwave. I can see all that dust. So I'm like, hey, wipe off that dust. But just setting those expectations, because sometimes they're like, well, I didn't know this, and then they're like, well, I failed a room inspection for having my wall locker unlocked. And it's just besides expecting them to, I guess, like read stuff, like, hey, it tells you that there's a checklist for this, but sometimes they don't want to do that, and they're lazy about it. But I think being able to tell them, like, hey, make sure your wall locker is locked, make sure your bathroom door is open, make sure your window is, locked completely. I was like, those are all auto fails. Make sure you don't have trash anywhere. So I think just setting those standards is really big for them. And I think that when they do fail, you'd be like, well, hey, I told you what my expectation was, right? And they're like, yes, ma'am. So I think that when you set those expectations and those boundaries for them, they're able to respect you a little bit more because they're like, hey, she did tell me, instead of feeling like, hey, my MTL was too busy to meet with me and I didn't know this happened and now like it's unfair.
Yeah.
So
It sets them up for success in the
yes,
end.
exactly.
And it's a good intro into the Air Force, like being able to,
Yes. Yeah, and when you're able to be like stern from the beginning and like lay off a little bit, then you're able to actually have more of a relationship and talk to them on, a more personal level. And at first, like you build that boundary, and so now they're like, okay, I'm at least be respectful. I'm going to talk to you respectfully. But now, hey, I can actually like, hey, now we have a better relationship. I respect you as a person, not just not by your rank, but you as a person because you've given me the same respect back. Yeah. So I think that makes a big difference. And I think that's like what he was talking about, like rewarding is when they, message you 6 months down the road, like, hey, do you remember me? You really helped me out. I really appreciate everything you did for me.
You'll get a random note that you weren't expecting in your box, like, hey, I really appreciate what you did for me during my time here. And you're like, oh, man, I didn't
Or the
realize
little
I had...
sticky notes on our
your
doors.
sticky
Yes.
notes.
Her
Yes.
door's covered
So
with them.
cute.
Yes.
But I just helped an airman last week. He's stellar airman, top of his class. And I find out, he's no longer going to be in the Air Force. I was like, dang, what? But him coming to me, I was able to guide him to chaplain, to some counseling sessions. We share aspects of faith, right? And just that camaraderie between us was really nice to experience and get to help him in the place that he's at in his life when otherwise he's such an example of what an airman could be, but there's this other side that you may not see, even just pass him in the hallways, and we're there to help him, and that was really nice.
I think that's the most like rewarding part is whether like for this one specifically, whether it's being in the Air Force and continuing your career or, hey, I'm going to guide you out and make sure that you're still successful on the outside. Because I agree, like the airman that he's talking about is a great airman when we were both told like, hey, he's going to get ELS, he's having some mental health struggles. We were very surprised because he is a great airman. But
Yeah.
you never know what people are going through. But if we can at least help them some way, whether that's, hey, I'm going to tell you these are some other jobs that you can do, or hey, once you maybe get some help in 6 months, you can try to come back in. Just thinking of other things to help them, so it might not be for the Air Force, but help them, be a better person on the
Yeah.
outside.
Well, and I imagine too, like y'all are seeing them all day, every day. So it's like we are airmen, but like also there's the underlying layer of like we are people, and y'all have to be there for them
And that's
in
a
all
balance.
aspects.
That's a balance to find. I find myself coming in to the career being very empathetic, but you can't be too empathetic because the airman can use that against you and twist it and take advantage.
Yeah.
And that was actually a really cool thing I learned in MTLS about myself, is that like you can be understanding, but there is a line to where like there are standards. On the flip side, yes, they're airmen and they're a person, and we can show them that human factor, but we're also in the United States Air Force with standards that we have to uphold, or else like why are we even here? So.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that we have folks like the MTLs that are there that can show that harmony between holding a standard and being a real person, that you don't have to become some robot that goes around yelling at everyone all the time. You don't have to be sold out into your job as a technician or anything like that. You can be a person, and you can have your own set of values and your own set of goals, and you can pair that with the Air Force's goals in order to be successful in both your own personal endeavors as well as within the Air Force itself. And so is there a time when you have had the opportunity to mentor an airman that maybe is starting out, or in order to set them up for success as they get to their first duty location?
Well, I know one airman specifically that I'm thinking of where he had a really tough start to the Air Force. He had a bad home life before he joined. Kind of came from the wrong side of the neighborhood, and things were really tough for him. And he's like, hey, most of my friends I know they're in jail now, or they're doing bad things, and so that's why he wanted to get out of the situation that he was in. And so he joined, but it was a very hard transition for him to kind of get a different mindset. And so when he got here, he was struggling, and he was like, Sergeant Tierney, he's like, you held me to that standard, and he's like, I respected you for that. He's like, you called me out on my crap, because he would lie to our face when we would tell him about stuff like, hey, I have this on camera, I have, all these statements, I saw you with my own eyes, or this MTL saw you. So I was like, cut the crap, and so I think being able to call him out on that, but he almost got kicked out, but between me and another MTL and our commander, he was one airman at the time. I think there was 4 of them that were all about to be kicked out. But he was the one airman that truly, he changed his ways. He truly tried to come around and do the right thing. He was on, that straight and narrow path after that. And later on, before he went to his next duty station, he's like, hey, I really appreciate, your mentorship. And I think that's where, yes, we have to hold the standard, but we have to tell you hey, you're wrong. And he was red carded for probably half the time he was here, and he was in a lot of trouble. But being able to reach out to his next duty station and talk to that, his supervisor was like, hey, I kind of started out with a UIF too, and and I was in trouble. And I had some people who looked out for me and was able to give me that fresh start. And so I think for him specifically, just being able to hold him accountable here, but kind of really be like a mother figure, where it's hey, I'm going to call you out, and I'm going to see right through your crap, but also we care about you, but we have to hold that standard, and we were able to get him, move forward into his next base finally, and I think that he was so grateful for us, because it was I think he took that when he almost was about to kicked out. He's like, dang, I really need to get my life together, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But he was definitely a success story for us, and yeah,
Fantastic.
He's a prime example of we don't expect perfection when you come in. We know y'all got your own things going on, but is there an ability to adapt to what we're holding you guys to? And a lot of times the airmen we see getting pushed out is just that failure to adapt to you're here, we need you here, we're gonna mentor you there and help you get there. But it's your decision, and if you're going to choose not to get there, well, then that's your choice, and we'll help you out on your way out. But he's a perfect example of, hey, he saw and he chose to adapt, and it was for the better.
Yeah. I feel like it really hits hard about like why MTLs matter, because this is the start of their career, and like not everybody starts out in the same places, but you all get to guide them. And I don't know, is there anything you'd like to speak to that at all?
Yeah, they're so, I feel like, especially even for me, coming out of basic, you're so, like your brain is so clustered. You're second guessing everything. You don't have any confidence, because that's part of what basic is just you're screamed at, you're told what to do, you're made to second guess yourself, right? And then you get here and you're still in that frenzied sort of mind. You get off the bus and we're still kind of screaming at you on pickup Friday. So having that nice intermediate phase between kind of pure chaos and real world mission is essential. Some tech schools are shorter than others, of course, so that time may be less. But just being able to show them, hey, this is what is going to be expected of you operationally. This is the type of airmen we need with the type of mindset, especially now with Bracer Forge being implemented into kind of their work week, getting them that multi-capable airman mindset. That introductory phase, intermediate, is key before just launching them into mission. Be like, all right, have fun.
Yeah, I think we're more compared to MTIs. That was actually why I didn't want to become an MTI. I was like, I don't want to sit there and scream at people all day long. Yes, we do have to sometimes raise our voice or yell at airmen here, but it's just a lot less. But I think that we have more of the capability to mentor them versus, like, hey, BMT, you're breaking them down, you're getting them ready for the military. Like, hey, you're in the military now, this is how it is. And I think our role is more mentoring them. Hey, this is what the operational Air Force is like. Things are different, but the structure, the chaos, I think one thing they have issues with is at BMT you're told everything, like you will eat at this time, you will wake up at this time, you will march here, you will do this. And here some of the airmen have trouble transitioning to be able to think for themselves. And I think that's kind of where we come in, where we're able to, like, hey, I'm going to mentor you and I'm going to teach you, hey, I'm not going to hold your hand through everything like they did at BMT. You have to be able to out-process. You have to be able to do things without us telling you what to do all the time. And I think some of the airmen still struggle with that. But I think that's like our main mission, is just get them ready operationally of what the Air Force is really going to be like. Yeah. And
So what are some of the ways that each of you have grown during your time as an MTL? I know you haven't had a lot of time as an MTL, but even still out the gate, there can be a lot of opportunities to grow. Where do you feel like that you've grown the most?
I think I've grown the most and more probably like the disciplinary act and being able to, I guess, like execute things or, push them down. Like that was one thing I always struggled with, was trying to do things myself. And now I'm like, hey, I need you to take care of this.
So like delegating.
Yes, just delegating. That was a huge thing for me. Something my husband still is like, hey, you need to delegate more. But I guess it's the same thing as like asking the airmen to do PT. That's kind of how I feel too. I was like, hey, if I can't do this, why would I ask my MTLs to do it? So it's just like making sure that I'm still keeping that like, heavy workload, but sometimes it is a struggle. But I think just that disciplinary thing, being empathetic but being stern, because they do try to play the mom and dad. Sometimes whether it's instructors versus MTLs or MTL versus MTL, that's been a big struggle for me that I feel like I've grown with. You kind of are able to like read things a lot more, but it does sometimes desensitize you to be like, there might be an airman actually going through something, but you've dealt with airmen lying to you about it the whole time. So sometimes trying to like course correct like how you think and not being biased towards it. That's definitely something that, yeah.
I think I've just grown as an NCO. Back in supply operationally, I made staff first time, and that dynamic's a little weird because you're an airman with airmen, and then all of a sudden you become their supervisor, and they're my buddies, right? And balancing that line of like, hey, now I'm kind of in charge of like work, ops, mission, but you're still my buddy. So and finding that balance was hard. I would still find myself being buddy with them, even though I was their NCO. But coming here, having a new, fresh environment, a new start, I'm still challenged because airmen try to be, your friend, and this position enables me to put up that line more and help me balance that empathy, that type of leader that I should be as an NCO, and going forward. I think that's something I'm still working on, of course, but I appreciate the this role and how that's developed in me.
Yeah. Do you think there's any one thing, like specifically, that you've gotten out of being an MTL that you wouldn't have anywhere else?
Oh, that's a good question.
Lots. Just in the 4 months, just the amount of situations you're presented with tenfold than I think I would have experienced in 10 years in a supply gig back at Langley Air Force Base, right? So just that constant change and experience with different situations, different opportunities to challenge yourself was like, all right, how am I going to approach this situation versus onesie twosies here and there back at the office.
I think I've just grown as a leader. You know, like when I got here, you know, being a tech sergeant and then moving into that assistant flight chief role and then flight chief, like I think it's just helped me grow as a leader. I was very nervous to take over as flight chief. I think it still makes me nervous, you know, because I've only been doing it for like a month. Thank you. But just like learning to lead, you know, making sure that my team is taken care of. Because at the end of the day, like if they're not good, you know, obviously they can't take care of the airmen. So I think that's definitely been my biggest, I think, blessing is just being able to lead, you know, everyone I work with. So, and the airmen. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
As a prior MTL, do you miss anything about the job?
I do. I miss all the opportunities
He misses
that
us.
come
Yeah,
in. Yes,
sure.
all the team.
Hey, well, we get
I
to
do
bring you
miss
back
the
to
team.
the bus.
Yes,
Yeah,
quite
exactly.
a bit. I get out there as much as I can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But just the opportunity to help people where they need help the most, and in times maybe their lowest time, and maybe even their best time, but to help encourage them. You know, how do I continue to challenge myself when I feel like everything is going well? When I feel like I'm killing it everywhere, do I get to take my foot off the gas, or how do I like increase in my responsibilities during that time? So being there with the airmen, kind of guiding them through those times, were definitely some of my favorite as an MTL.
Yeah. What do you think you've used, gotten from being an MTL that you're using now?
Definitely the ability to provide feedback to my peers, to subordinates, and then even to people that I work under, being able to say, hey, I understand you want to do this. You know, there are implications. I understand this is a priority for you. These are my priorities right now. How would you say that this racks and stacks with what I'm doing? And have that, be able to actually kind of step up and have that conversation respectfully to say, hey, this is what I have on my plate. Where do you feel like this priority fits there? And then go from there. And if they say, no, this should be your number one priority, great. Then that's what I'll shift, you know, my focus to. And if not, then we'll put it in where it belongs and get after what is most important.
Yeah.
Do you think being an MTL contributed to you pursuing commissioning at all? Or was that always in the back of your head, or do you think that propelled you?
It was always in the back of my mind, but it certainly propelled me to the place that I needed to go. So anyone who's considering taking a big leap of your career, being an MTL for a while is going to really set you up to launch you in. As long as everyone knows what your plans are as you're going into it, just really communicate that. Whatever it is you're trying to do, communicate, and the amount of networking that you're going to get while you're in MTL here is going to set you up phenomenally.
Yeah. Final thing, if y'all could give like 20, 30-second pitch of, you know, being an MTL for anybody out there who's maybe thinking about it or maybe wanting to, what would you say?
I would definitely say do it. I definitely think that this has probably been one of the best experiences so far. It's definitely challenging and hard, but I think a lot of times not anybody gets to do this, and not everyone gets to be out of their career field. And I know that there's people who do 20 years and they never do a DSD, but I think being able to, one, it's not something that's mandated now, so I think if you can volunteer for it, that's what I did. Go ahead and do it. Like, I definitely, I know when I'm done with this, I'm going to miss it, just like you do. There's things I obviously miss about my career field, but I think overall, like, this has been a great assignment so far. And I think that anybody who is going out there who just wants to do something different, or even just like, hey, I just need something now, you know. Also, I have been told that it's great for promotion. You know, when you do get out of this, if you get promoted while you're in it, that's great. But if not, it definitely sets you up for success when you're done, because not everybody gets to do it. So,
Yeah, I'd say don't be complacent, right? Go out there, challenge yourself, and challenge airmen.
Well, amazing. Well, thank you guys. We had you. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Yeah. That's about it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah,
Great.
awesome. Well, thank y'all for watching Ignite the Beacon and hearing about all the opportunities and challenges about being an MTL. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Cheers.